Mrs.
Tried to make him sleep, nothing much really.
And did you listen to my advice and limit his sweet intake?
Oh, I did for a bit, but he seemed to be so weak and he does love back pain, so there has been no ring-throwing game.
But Mrs. Pumphrey, if you don't—
Mr. Heroit? I am sure you are right, but it is so difficult for me. After a few days, as Mr. Heroit expected. A call from Mrs. Pumphrey. Mr. Heroit Tricky would not eat, noting even his favorite dishes. He had bouts of vomiting. He spent all his time lying on a rug, taking quick breaths, didn't want to go for walks, didn't want to do anything.
Mrs. Pumphrey, I think he should be hospitalized for about 2 weeks to be kept under observation.
By hearing this, Mrs. Pumphrey almost fainted. But it was the only way to save Tricky. So, without any delay, Mrs. Pumphrey took the litter, and Mrs. Pumphrey was crying.
Don't worry, Mrs. Pumphrey, he would be all right. I made a bed for him where others slept. For 2 days I kept an eye on him, giving him no food but plenty of water. At the end of second he was interested in his surrounding, and on the third day when they had finished, they went for a walk. From next day, he had no medical treatment of any kind, but all day he plays with the dogs. Life. While Mrs. Pumphrey visited me.
Mr. Heroit, whether his cushions were being turned regularly, or his correct coat worn according to the weather.
Yes, Mrs. Pumphrey, and the little fellow was out of danger now. By hearing this enriched Tricky's blood, lunch became an occasional ceremony. It was a desire to keep Tricky as a permanent ace. Mrs. Pumphrey, she came.
Oh, Mr. Heroit, do tell me the truth.
When Tricky saw his mistress, he jumped from my arm and sailed into Mrs. Pumphrey's lap.
Oh, Mr. Heroit, how can I ever thank you? This is a triumph of surgery.
Agar apko video pasandaya, to like or subscribe karna. Dhanyawad.